and leadership with me, Ryan Gomez. It's an absolute privilege and a plum pleasing pleasure to be here speaking to you on 97.7 FM KC Radio. Well, we've got a great segment in store for you this morning as well. Like we do every Saturday, I have a very special guest, Rita Hartney, who's a motivational speaker, author, and a public speaking coach who's going to be speaking to us after about a little bit after about 8:30 this morning on goal setting, customer service, and how do we build a positive mental attitude in order to, and it's key, isn't it, to be able to go into 2018. A question I ask is, have you set your goals for 2018? How, looking back 2017, how many of those goals have you achieved so far? And what are some of the successes you've had, some of the challenges you've had, and how are you going to build on that into 2018? And that's the key, absolute key. Before we get into the segment, I've got to say we're streaming live on the web. That is all the W's, www.kcradio.com.au. And we are locally on the dial, that is 97.7 FM, KC Radio. The sound is Southeast. It's you can jump on my Facebook page, as a matter of fact, which is www.facebook.com/Ryan Gomez segment. It's a lot to remember, isn't it? Well, we have an absolute blast on the segment every Saturday morning. I hope you've been listening in to Cindy, to some of those great, all-time favorite tracks from the 80s, from the 90s, and some of the latest tracks out there. And Cindy has a great breakfast program that she plays on Saturday mornings from about 6 a.m. And we have a great day in store for you on KC Radio. So you've got to be tuning into 97.7 FM. We got sports, we got country music, we've got some of the latest rock and roll, and a lot happening on Saturdays on KC Radio. As a matter of fact, 24 hours around the clock. Well, there you have it. Thank you to all our national and international listeners as well, who have been tuning in time and time again. I got to say, I've got some dedicated national and international listeners as well. Look, thank you for tuning in and sending in your comments and some of your some emails, as a matter of fact, to and some of the things we've done on this segment over 2017 and going into 2018. What are some of the things we can look at doing? And look, I tend to, a lot of it I say it on the program, and I say it from time to time, is a lot of it is my views and my ideas, and does not reflect the views and ideas of you, our listeners. And to uttermost respect to people out there who have achieved some great success and achieving success in every endeavor in life. All I talk about is what I've learned and some of my experiences and some of the things I've learned from people that's taken me into in the last 5-6 years or so. And I always say it's never the circumstances in life that determine the person you become. Oh no, it's never the circumstances in life, but rather the choices that you make in your life that determine the person you become. 5 years will come and go no matter what. And I say this time and time again, 5 years will come and go no matter what. But what choices you make today will determine who you become 5-10 years from today. So look back at your life. Where you are in life today is because of the choices you made 5-10 years ago. Absolute key going into 2018. Have you set goals? Have you set goals? Are you kicking goals? Are you going to be able to, what are some of the things that you're going to be taking into 2018? And number one key is, yes, important that we need to set goals and write it down. And we've heard this time and time again. Write it down and work your goals. But a couple of keys I want to talk about this morning is about building on that mental attitude, building on attitude. As a matter of fact, attitude is an absolute key. And why I say that is because I'll tell you a story. There was this man who was selling balloons at various places. He would go and he would sell these balloons, and he had all these different colors. He had these colors. He had white, brown, green, all the different color balloons. And every time the business would slow down, and people would not buy his balloons, he would release a balloon into the air. And when you do that, the kids and children would see these balloons in the air, and they would come running and they would buy some of these balloons. And he would make a profit that way as well. He would try to sell as many as he can. So every time his business would slow down, he would release a balloon in the air, release a few balloons in the air. Now, while he was doing that, there was a little boy that was tugging at his t-shirt, and he looked down and he saw this little boy, and the boy asked the man. He says, "Sir, as a matter of fact, would a black balloon fly if you release it?" And the man looked at him and said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, yes, it would." And he said, "It is not." Moved by the boy's concern, he said, "Son, it's not the color of the balloon that what makes it go up. It's what's inside that makes it go up. It's what's inside." And true is a reflection of our attitude in life. I like what Williams James said. He said, "The greatest discovery of this generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitude of mind." So very important, so very important. When attitude goes up, everything else goes up, isn't it? If you look at organizations, as a matter of fact, research has been done in organizations over the last X amount of years, and when asked the question, what is the number one thing you would like to change in an organization? 99% of organizations said, number one key I would like to change is attitude, attitude, attitude. When attitude goes up, productivity goes up, the business goes up. When attitude is down, guess what? Vice versa. So attitude is an important key, is an absolute important key going into 2000. Look at yourself, look at your attitude, look at where you are today in life, look at some of the choices you've made. Have you made any choices? Have you made a decision in life? And ultimately it's about sharpening that axe. And when I say sharpening that axe, and some of you've heard the story before, it is important that I'll give you a story. I'll tell you a story, as a matter of fact. So, a story about a man named John, a woodcutter named John. And John worked in this organization for 5-6 years, for a long time. That was a long time, and to work in an organization. Well, there you go. Well, he used to chop wood, and as a woodcutter, he used to chop a lot of wood. But he never ever got a raise. He never ever got a raise. And then came Bill. Bill was hired by the organization as a woodcutter to come and chop some wood. And Bill started to chop wood. Now, 1 year down the track, guess what? Bill ended up getting a raise. Now, this angered John. Absolutely. John went into his boss and said, "Hey, boss, come on, man. I've been working here for the last 5-6 years, giving my blood and sweat and chopping a lot of wood. And here comes Bill. 1 year down the track, he ends up getting a raise. But here I am, stuck. I mean, come on. And the boss turned around to John and said, "John, you know what? In this organization, we talk about profit. It's a productivity based organization. It's the amount of wood that Bill chops. That's why we had given him a raise. See, you've been working hard, but Bill chops more wood than what you do. In the same amount of hours, you've been working." And this angered John. Hang on, how can he chop more wood? I've been here so long, I'm more experienced, I've got a lot more experience. Some of those organizations, think about it, there are people out there going, "Hey, you know what, I got a lot of experience." And there you got someone who's come along in the organization in the last year or so, and ends up getting a raise, ends up getting a promotion. So John said, "Hang on, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to work harder than Bill." So he goes out there, he starts chopping more and more wood and working that extra hour or two. Can you relate to this? Working that extra hour or two to make sure that he got this raise. So he went back to his boss a couple of weeks later and said, "Hey, you know what? I've been working these extra hours, boss, and I'm sure I've chopped more wood than what Bill does." And the boss said, "Hey, you know what? You're wrong. In fact, Bill is still chopping more wood than what you do, and working less hours than what you do." Now, John said, "Hey, but how is this possible? How is this possible? I'm working harder. I'm putting in more hours. How is this possible?" He said, the boss said, "Well, you need to go and ask Bill this question. Ask Bill, what does he do?" So he went along to Bill and he said, "Bill, come on, tell me, what is it that you do different? You work less hours than me and you're still chopping more wood, and you've only been in the organization for 1 year. Come on, man. And I've been here for the last 5 years. I'm the most experienced person. You know what? Bill said, as a matter of fact, every hour I chop wood, I sit down and sharpen my axe after that for the next 10 minutes. So every hour I chop wood, I go back, and I sit down for the next 5 minutes to 10 minutes and sharpen my axe and then go back to work. And this happens on every hour. John, when last have you sharpened your axe? I ask you this question. When last have you sharpened your mental axe? When last have you sharpened your mental axe? When we go in, when we kick off, when as kids we grow up, getting into school, then getting into college or university, whatever it is, and getting all these high accreditations for the next 20, 25, for the first 25 years in our life. And then we go through life thinking, hey, you know what? Success is there and we're going to achieve everything we want in life, but not by just stopping and just working day by day. It's about constantly innovating. It's about constantly sharpening your mental axe. It's about constantly working on yourself. It's about constantly learning from people. It's about constantly building your mindset up. It's about constantly, putting in that effort and challenging yourself. And you got to constantly keep sharpening that mental axe. You got to stop in what you're doing, the urgent things in life. Stop. Take a break for that 10 minutes when I'm talking about 10 minutes or so, and think about, hey, where am I going today in life? What am I doing that is different? What am I going to do that's going to be able to get me into the next year or so? Head and shoulders, and being head and shoulders above the rest. It's about sharpening that mental axe. It's about constantly working on yourself. And that's what makes people head and shoulders above the rest. And that is the absolute key. So going into 2018, think about some of the things I say. Some of the things I've talked about is the stuff. It's not rocket science. But are you doing it? That's a totally different thing. So it's about, yes, setting goals. Number one, absolute key. It's about setting goals. But in order to do that, you have to look at your attitude. Where is your attitude? Are you building on that attitude? And then you've got to also look at sharpening your mental axe. You tune into 97.7 FM KC Radio on an hour of power in leadership with me, Ryan Gomez.